Quit.
We found parts of the bodies all over the house. Places you wouldn't think.
Fall asleep.
Welcome to the show.
Is this the sound effects episode, part 7?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Tis.
Because I think we're on, like, sound effects part at least 4.
Feels like. I mean,
It's got to be, right?
I know. I should just start getting like little clips we can pepper them in. You know, just like somebody says something, you know, that's like appropriate. Just, you know. Okay.
You're much better at it. You sound like an angry chihuahua. I've said that before, but
I like to think of myself as like a predator in the bushes.
like a predator?
Like a predator.
In the
Just
damn
like,
bushes.
like hiding at night, just, you know.
If you could see how she's dressed, that is like the exact opposite of predator. She's in like this really nice top, all brightly colored, and she with her hair up in like a cute fucking top bun, and she's over here just like
Like with the hands
with her
up,
hands
like
and
with
claws
claws.
and everything.
Yep. So
It's no, I'm here for it. It's fantastic.
So what beer do you want?
I would take any beer. So just to cue you guys in a little bit, are we doing separate or are we pretending like we have the same beer this week?
Okay, well, let's do separate.
Okay, cool. So to cue you guys in, April has a very complicated and busy life.
Boy, howdy.
Yeah, much like the rest of us on this podcast, which is why we do one big episode.
This is what we do now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Miss April asked her lovely, wonderful boyfriend to set aside a few beers at a party they were having. And I heard today that he did
that.
That being said, somehow they still were bamboozled away from said fridge.
Yeah, so I knew I had 2. I thought I had 3. And then when I went to the fridge to grab them, there were 1.
There were 1.
Yeah.
And then there were 1.
Yeah, which is not correct, but I was expecting there to have been 2. So
Yeah,
then I
at
would've been
least 2.
There were 2, but no, just 1.
Yeah, so
So we do have a repeat, which I had in the fridge also.
Yes.
And then a newbie.
yes.
So,
I feel like it's your episode, so you should have the newbie.
okay, but do you want to try it at least? Or...
Excuse me. Oh no, we'll try it again at some point.
Okay.
I'm sure we'll get a different flavor.
You know, honestly, I'm gonna pop it. I'm gonna talk about it. I'm gonna tell you why we probably will have it again.
Perfect. I feel like in this circumstance, this is where we can make an exception too.
I think so too.
Yeah.
It's our podcast. We can do what we want.
As I said today.
Okay.
Oofta.
So what I am drinking is from Upslope, which I know we've had an Upslope beer.
We've had a few upslope beers.
This is Spiked Snowmelt.
Ooh.
It is a craft hard seltzer. This particular flavor is peach lemonade and is the electrolyte series. So, like, you stay hydrated. It's got electrolytes, so, like, basically it's like a post-workout beer.
Right, exactly. It's a makeup for the fact that you totally didn't drink enough water beer.
Yeah, like, oh, man, I had a hard day hiking. Well, I better get me this beer with electrolytes. It is very, like... I like it. I'm sort of particular on seltzers.
Sure.
Like some of them are too bubbly, I think.
Yeah.
Too carbonated. This one is like lightly carbonated, I feel like. It's like a little bit lighter.
Okay.
And the peach is the way more prominent flavor, and like the lemonade aspect of it is very subtle.
Okay.
But
and see, I'm into that. I don't mind the lemonade flavor by any means, but I definitely, if it's going to be peach, that's my favorite flavor.
Yeah.
So
no, there's
I want peach.
definitely more prominent of a peach note on this.
Well, that's delightful.
Yeah.
So we'll definitely have to have this again then.
Yeah, and they have different flavors too.
Maybe we can have snow melt around the first snow fall.
Oh, wow. I like it.
Yes.
Speaking of I like it,
You like it?
I also wanted to tell you that I liked your space episode.
Did you? Good.
Yes, very much. I'm not finished with the docuseries. But
There's still one episode. I haven't seen if it was posted yet or not.
I mean, I saw that it was like new episodes, but like they're all new to me. So
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think
But-
there's 4 or 5 that are out now, and
can't
there's
remember.
a new one that is them landing and their time in space.
Yeah.
But I'm sure it'll take a minute to make.
Yeah. Oh, I bet. But no, I'm a little bit through, and I just loved, first of all, Dr. Proctor's like whole reaction and everything.
Right?
Like, I just like gave me such feels.
I know.
I was
her
like,
and
oh my god.
her and Haley are like the baddest bitches on this planet.
Yeah, and like
Literally.
like Chris's wife was like, I got a kick out of that. She's like, did I know my husband signed up in a raffle to go to space? No. Am I surprised by it? No.
No.
I was like, yep.
That's like, it would have been a direct quote from me.
Yeah, if Alan had done
Yeah.
it. Yeah. No,
Yeah.
for sure.
Yeah.
For sure. But no, I'm into it, and they like, you know, they hiked where they hiked to on Mount Rainier for part of their like little training thing is where Calvin went in May.
Nice.
So
okay.
I was like, oh, I got to see, well, sort of pictures of that. It was a blizzard. So,
Right. Right.
when he went. So
Yeah, it kind of snows. And in
Yeah.
March, it definitely snows.
yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, he went in May, and it was supposed to be.
Oh, May, you said.
And it was supposed to be very clear. And then the day they got there, like, it was not.
Not.
They couldn't see anything. They like got to the camp, and then if I remember correctly, they like were like trying to dig their own like little cave things.
Yeah.
And didn't realize that like not very far away from them was already one set up, so they could have
Oh.
saved the trouble, but they couldn't see.
No,
you
that's
know?
fair.
Yeah.
And
So like the pictures he took, I'm like, it looks like some of them looked cool before it got like to be white out, but then it was just white.
yeah,
you know?
because it was a blizzard. So
Yeah.
it's like you don't get to see any of the sights
Yeah.
or anything because
Yeah.
you're climbing in a blizzard.
So anyways,
That just looks like hell, man. Like I've climbed I've climbed my fair share of 14ers and done my fair share of hiking and, you know, running around in the desert, et cetera, et cetera. And I just feel like the one thing that I never want to do is hike in the snow. And the snow hiking that I have done is like backcountry boarding.
Yeah.
And I fucking hated it.
See, now I like winter hiking to an extent.
I was like, because you're a freak.
Yeah, so
Because you like snowshoeing.
well, I don't do the snowshoeing, but I have like micro spikes and like poles and stuff. And the reason I like winter hiking is because nobody fucking goes winter hiking.
Yeah, because it sucks.
So like we got like the trails pretty much, you know, like there's you know, you'll see a few people, especially when it's like nice winter days.
Yeah.
But not nearly as many people, and I love that. I mean, I don't go like crazy hiking, but you know, like Staunton is like a big one, like Evergreen Mountain and those types of things are big winter hikes for me.
If you could see my face right now, you would know exactly how I felt about that.
No,
I can give you an indication.
Dislike general people in my space.
I don't like people at all. Like, I'm not a homebody to the, like, you know, I do spend time at home, but I definitely do go out and do stuff. I just really fucking hate being around people.
That's why I'm like, I'll go in the winter. The view's still really good in the winter. And in some spots, I would almost argue better. Because, you know, there's like this, the snow can be very pretty.
Yeah.
But, you know, it does take a little bit of like layering and...
Oh, yeah. And you have to pack a little bit better. You
Yep.
have to be aware of how much water you need and
Yeah.
sunblock. And you have to have a lot of stuff in case you get stuck.
Yeah. So, anyways, I love.
She likes weather.
I like weather.
I like weather, but I don't like to hike in bad weather.
Well, I'm not going to go if it's a blizzard, but
Yeah.
like, I will go in the winter when there's snow on the ground.
Oh,
And it's cold.
Yeah, and that doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
I guess what I'm saying is I meant literally like
In a
hiking
blizzard.
in the blizzard. Yeah.
No, I don't want to do that.
Hey, girlfriend, none of that.
so sorry.
She says, not sorry at all.
There's nothing I can do to help that. We
Fair.
haven't been on like the same schedules. So in normal, what is right now normal, Jason and I would get up at the same time. Like this week and last week I didn't have, well, this week is still probably could be changing, but last week and the week before, because I had my parents in town, I didn't have overtime. But Jason had to go to work early.
Right.
So the first couple weeks, like, I had to go to work early, and he got to sleep until his like normal time to wake up, and then he's had to go into work early, and
You've gotten to sleep.
well, you'd think,
More than you were
but I
previously.
get up with his alarm.
Ugh.
I can't go back to sleep.
Oh, you
So-
gotta learn how to do that, man.
Yeah, I'm not good at that whole thing. So, God in heaven, my eyes are like,
Dying?
yeah, turns out. Okay, well, this will be really fun to read. So speaking of weather, I do want to talk to you about weather today, if that's okay. My name's April.
Hi, April. I'm so glad you were so kind to ask.
Yeah.
It's not like this isn't your episode or anything, and you can tell us whatever you want because it's our fucking podcast, and we get to talk about what we want to talk about.
Yeah, so I'm
Right.
going to talk about some weather stuff.
Good.
Who are you?
Oh, I'm Hannah. I'm
Okay.
also sassy. For reasons.
Yeah, well, those do look like sassy pants.
These are
So,
they're black.
yeah, well, they got
She's
they got
imagining-
a tie
Okay.
on it, so.
Yeah, I was like, she's
And
imagining.
they have ankle cuffs. I just feel like that's sass.
They're very old, worn out joggers. Is what they are. Like I can,
Sassy.
if I bend over too far, you can see my underwear through them.
Well,
and they
see?
used to be like thick material. Whoops. Yeah. So I'm Hannah, and this is a podcast called "Don't Fall Asleep,"
Yep.
and it is not about sweatpants or beer. I mean, it is a lot about beer.
We feature beers.
We feature beer a lot.
Beer's a
Beer's an integral part of our storytelling process.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, we need it. It fuels us.
Yeah.
So it is okay. So it is about beer, but it's not
Sort
just
of, yeah.
about beer. It's a podcast about the strange and unusual. Because April, what are we?
We ourselves are strange and unusual.
I feel like we had to go a little spooky because it is like Halloween. This is my favorite fucking month. I love fall. I love October. It's
I
my
made
favorite.
pumpkin pie Chex Mix last weekend.
Oh,
I
we're-
know you were just thinking of apple pie shots, weren't you? Is that
yes.
what that face was? Yeah,
Yeah,
I picked
that
up
was
on that.
That's exactly my
I
face.
saw you were like, oh yeah, she made pumpkin pie Chex Mix last year. And apple pie. Like, I saw that whole thought process.
I basically think about like three things, and liquor
Yeah.
is one of them.
Yeah.
So.
No, Calvin mentioned that to me the other day. He's like, it's almost time for apple pie moonshine, huh? And I was like, yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much.
So
Well, we'll have to do. I mean, because you have the Halloween podcast this year.
I do.
So-
And I live pretty close to you. Mm-hmm. I almost think, potentially, in a world where everything lines up, it would be great to record on a night or during the day on a weekend or something where, like, you know, we could do a little drinking and, like,
Just get totally wasted.
and like maybe perhaps even like I could bring Jason over or something, and yeah, we could record with some apple pie shots like we did.
Yes. We'll have to get with Maya because she's got a
She's
weird
gotta-
schedule.
Well, yeah,
But I think we can make that happen.
Yeah.
And not that you all need to know about this, but just get stoked because in like not this episode, not the next episode, not the episode after that,
But-
that last one after that last one may or may not get a little shitty. So
may or may not.
Yeah.
May or may not. We'll see.
we'll see.
Okay.
So what are you talking about this week though? Because we're
Okay.
living in the now.
We're living in the now.
not in the near future. Even though my
We're
mouth
gonna
is
live a little bit
salivating.
in the near future because part of the opening scene to my story is about my near future that's kind of up in the air, so there will be some asterisks and stuff.
Yeah. And fun note, we're actually recording the week that we're putting this out.
Yeah, so it's
So when
like
she
pretty
says my
relevant.
near future, she really means my near future.
Yeah, like my pretty near future.
Yeah.
I'm gonna talk to you today a little bit about some weather stuff. I love
Whether or not-
weather. And I'm gonna talk to you about some birds. So,
Like
And
the
it's-
Katinka incident.
and it's gonna be
Katinga.
sorry. It's gonna be.
That was April very rudely kicking her mic stand.
I apologize.
She does it a lot.
So, all right. So my sources came from Wikipedia, obviously.
What? Yeah, it's the Almighty.
SpectrumLocalNews.com.
Okay.
metoffice.gov.uk, theatlantic.com, and the the first episode of the Netflix series Connected, which is where I got the idea because I've kind of wanted to talk about this guy, and I was like, well, I could, but what really sold me, and I have been telling almost everybody about it, is the fucking birds. And so, anyways, I'm just gonna get into it.
By all means.
Okay.
I'm super into it.
So here's where there's gonna be some asterisks. Okay. So when this episode comes out, I'll be packing my bags for a few days in St. Thomas, which is part of the U.S. Virgin Islands.
Yes.
With, my guy and some friends. We have a buddy down there who, among many of the hats he wears, is a boat captain.
That's super cool.
Super cool. So
wait, what's his name?
Jared.
Boat Captain Jared?
Yeah.
Fuck yeah, Boat Captain Jared.
I'm hoping we can have some boat adventures. But of course, as it is hurricane season, I've been kind of keeping an eye out on that. And right now it looks pretty decent. So, and as we've heard on the podcast, I've not kept it a secret. I like weather. But hurricanes are of special interest, whether or not.
Yay. I was like, if you don't do that at least once,
right.
You missed a really good opportunity for a dad joke. Just saying.
Right. Whether or not I'm potentially traveling to their path. The asterisk there is because there's a small chance we're going to cancel our trip, not because of a hurricane, but
other reasons. But a hurricane
honestly,
would be a reason to cancel.
It's just going to be a little bit too hard potentially for one of us to not go to work at this moment. There's nobody at Jason's company because his dad had to have surgery.
Yeah,
and he's not back yet, and we didn't know the surgery was happening when we booked the flight, and so we're like, fuck.
Yeah. Well, and he kind of is,
right now he's running that company.
Yeah, I was like, he's a party too. He's not the direct party, but he's a party
he's
too.
a party too.
So when the party is missing, he is the party.
Yeah. And so we don't know. So anyways, maybe there will be pictures of my island escapade. Maybe not.
Maybe not.
We'll see. Anyways, so I thought that I would share a story of another weather nerd and some strange and unusual developments in the weather, specifically predicting field.
Okay.
All right. So here's the tale of a guy who spent some time on a boat. Admittedly, though, a lot more seriously than myself.
Did he have a friend named Wilson?
I don't know.
Oh.
He did have some interesting friends, though.
Okay.
And we'll talk about some of them.
Okay.
And so he spent some time on a boat, a lot more than myself, and way further back in the past. This cat was born in 1805.
Oh, yeah, so a minute ago. Okay.
And did a lot in his nearly 60 years of living, including being governor of New Zealand for a couple years, hanging out with Charles Darwin, doing some Navy stuff, and making some major impacts on weather. His name is Robert Fitzroy.
Okay.
All right. So Fitzroy, at the age of 12, literally
fucking overachievers,
12, entered the Royal Navy College.
No, get the fuck out of here, overachievers.
By 13, no. He was in the Royal Navy. And,
someone should have fed him a lot more alcohol while he was in the womb. I'm just saying.
Yeah, I was like, excuse me, 12? Mm-hmm. Okay. I had a paper route at 12, and I thought I was pretty mature for my age. This dude was in the Naval College, and then in 13, in the Royal Navy, sailed to South America from Britain in 1820.
Okay.
At 14, he, in 18, I should have worded that sentence better. So in 1820, at the age of 14, he returned and was promoted on the journey. So he must have been a hardworking kid.
Yeah, well.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
If that's not evident from joining the Royal Navy College at 12, I don't know.
12. Yeah. I know that, things were different back then.
Yeah.
And things happened sooner because life expectancy was a lot shorter.
Yeah.
But fuck.
No, that's pretty impressive. I'm not going to lie. I mean, like you said, you were doing a paper route. I think I was I think I was playing soccer. That was the most exciting thing I was doing.
I had a paper out, and I also, when I was 12, we got a PlayStation, and I was really into NFL Blitz 99 and Spyro the Dragon. So
Okay.
that's what I was doing when I was 12. And, you know, of course, like park games, because I lived by a park.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I wasn't sailing in the Royal fucking Navy. He continued to work his way up the ranks on ships and in the ship world. Around about...
That's the technical term
This
for
is
it.
a technical term. Ship world.
Ship world.
Yep. Ship scene.
It's the ship scene. It's the scene of the ships.
Yep.
What? Dock them boats.
Why do you think it's
And
all
O's.
SS?
Oh. S-O-S. Okay, cool.
So...
Really bad jokes today.
Really
Christ.
bad. The captain of the HMS Beagle...
Great name.
A man named... Oh, you think that's a great name? Wait for this fucking doozy. The captain of the HMS Beagle. A man named Pringle Stokes. Pringle Stokes.
Yeah.
Had shot and killed himself.
Oh, no.
After becoming severely depressed. I mean, I probably because his name was fucking Pringle Stokes.
It's a great name. Why would you kill that? It's like, that's a great name. I'd be stoked to have that name.
To be Stokes, yeah.
Yeah, to be Stokes.
So, you know, he was very depressed. Being a captain's kind of a lonely life, you know?
Yeah.
So Fitzroy was appointed temporary captain.
Right, at like, what, 14, 15?
1828. No,
Oh,
so
no, he's a little
23.
older now.
He's
Yeah,
23.
okay.
Still probably pretty young for a captain. I don't fucking know.
All I know is if he was like 16 and a captain, I'd be like, nah.
Yeah.
Get up off that boat, Peter Pan. You're not allowed to get off that pirate ship. You're not allowed. You're too young.
So with his, he was promoted or appointed, whatever, temporary captain. But he earned a solid reputation as commander and surveyor through that and was reappointed as such of the HMS Beagle a little bit later.
Great.
And since he was aware, probably because of what happened to Pringle Stokes, but there was also a few other people around him that the same thing happened to. They got really depressed and killed themselves. So since he was aware of the stress and loneliness of being captain, he thought it would be really good to find a companion, you know, one who would share his scientific tastes and, you know, eat with him as an equal, because I'm sure that, and I feel like I've seen it in movies where, like, you know, just like the captain eating by himself, right? Because can't have the workers.
Well, they're all doing a bunch of stuff all 24 hours a day to keep the boat,
and,
you know, floating.
He's in a higher rank, right?
Yeah.
So Fitzroy wanted an equal to eat with and to keep him company and to, like, you know, have, like I said, the scientific tastes and build a normal friendship and somebody who would kind of try to make use of the expedition with various research and whatever. And eventually, although not his first choice, Charles Darwin was approved for that role.
Okay. All right.
And, you know, Darwin did a bunch of stuff.
Yeah,
We don't get into all that.
No, he
He made a
stuff.
name for himself.
Sure did.
Yeah.
Yeah. If he was looking for an intellectual equal, I feel like, I mean, I don't know a whole lot about our main guy yet, but I feel like if he's a pioneer
Darwin.
in the sense, then Darwin was
maybe not
essentially
bad.
in the same ballpark.
Well, I might probably have a beer with Darwin. You know,
Yeah.
see what he has to say about things.
Yeah, totally.
So they got along well for the most part, but they had different ideas and, you know, had some arguments on the treatment of slaves and that sort of thing. There was a big blowout regarding the subject where Fitzroy banished Darwin from dinner. And
Be gone!
was basically like, you know, if you can't respect my word or something, like, you're out, like, whatever. But Fitzroy was nicknamed Hot Coffee for his violent temper.
Okay.
Yeah, so he, you know, maybe kind of flew off. He did cool down, and he sent an apology to Darwin's quarters, which I'm like, that's adorable. You can just go knock on his fucking door.
Christ, no, he's the captain. The captain doesn't grovel and walk. He sends a messenger to be like, go tell that guy I was an ass.
Yeah, so he sends an apology, and they agreed to avoid the subject going forward.
Cool.
So that they could continue to get along Once they got back from that trip, Fitzroy got married to a woman he'd been engaged to for a while, and Darwin noted shock as the whole time they'd been cruising around the world, Fitzroy never mentioned being engaged or this woman or anything. So he was like, fucking what? Like, we got into fights about, like, you, but okay, you know?
I know how you feel about so many topics, but
I had no idea this bitch existed.
Yeah. Oh
Yeah.
my goodness.
So they got married, they had some babies, she died.
Oh.
The usual.
It happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He got married again, and they had a daughter. Okay, great. So that's like some personal stuff, right?
Cool.
And that's mostly that's all I'm going to touch on that because I don't really care. It's not relevant.
We're here for
to
weather.
the part of the story I'm going to tell.
We're here for weather. Yeah.
So the Darwin stuff is a cool connection that I definitely wanted to bring up. But my real interest here, as I mentioned, is the weather stuff. Okay, so by 1854, Fitzroy had retired from active naval service, like a couple years before that. And on some recommendations from the president of the Royal Society, he was appointed as a chief of a brand new department to deal with the collection of weather data at sea. This became the forerunner of the modern meteorological office.
Oh, neat. Okay.
He had captains provide info with instruments like that he loaned to them for that specific purpose.
Sure.
And he got to work on the data and figuring out like how to make it available to ships and stuff. He directed the designing and distribution of a type of barometer to be at every port for crews to consult before going out on the open water. And had like little, like not necessarily like inscriptions, but had little like instructions on what to look for. If it was like, if it's cold and the mercury rises, like look for this.
Got
and like
it.
that type of thing, and, so that they would have an idea on how to read it and just didn't walk up like, the fuck is this? You know?
And if he's lending out equipment, obviously, like, some of this stuff is stuff that nobody might have access to in a normal, voyage.
Yeah.
So they're
and especially since he's, like, kind of streamlining this whole thing. You can still see the remains of some of the stone fixtures that these were housed in throughout the UK area. In 1859, something terrible happened that led to something big.
Okay.
So there was a storm. A bad storm. And a steam clipper called the Royal Charter was one ship that got caught in it. This ship had like 480-ish passengers and a fuck ton of gold on it.
I love it when shit with gold on it sinks to the bottom of the ocean. It's such, of course I don't want people to die or nothing. That's not what I'm getting at. What I'm getting at is sunken treasure, which is so... Treasure! Oh, I haven't done a treasure episode in a while.
Honestly, I remember seeing this story when we did the treasure episode, and I was like, that's kind of neat. A lot of people died. And then I was like, I don't really know if there's like enough for me. And then, I saw that episode and how like some of these things are connected. And like, if you've seen that episode, you're like, yeah, I've heard a lot of this, April. Yeah, I quoted it as a source.
Yeah.
So
suck it. My bad.
I think I'm less cringy than the host of that show, so you're welcome.
Yeah.
Okay. So
I'd have to agree.
That guy, God, he drives me crazy. Interesting show, but that guy's so cringy. So
Opinions and facts with April.
no, honestly, I was okay. So I told Jason I was because I hate like that guy, and I've been listening to docuseries. And I have all these cringy hosts. And I'm like, what? I should start a fucking docuseries where I just talk about nerd shit, right? Like, I'll do all the research and whatever. It'll be like drunk history, except it'll be like stoned science or something like that. Where like, just like, I'll just get fucked up and just talk about
cool shit.
Yeah. Like, I don't know. Anyways, okay.
April, the stone science girl. Do, do, do.
And then they'll be like, oh, she's totally going to get high. And maybe I will, but it could also be like, oh, maybe she's going to talk about rocks. And I also will.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Anyways, sorry.
There's multiple words that mean the same thing.
I went off a little bit there. Anyways.
Or the words
Royal
that mean
Charter.
multiple things.
480-ish passengers, fuck ton of gold. Storm. So
Bottom
the
of the
ship
ocean.
tried anchoring to ride out the storm, but the anchor line snapped in the wind,
Yep.
and it was driven towards the shore, initially grounding on a sandbank, which wouldn't have been so bad, right?
No, it would have been fine.
But the rising tide from the storm and the strong wind pushed it off into the rocks, where waves and strong wind battered it, and most of the people who died, which about 450 of them died,
Oofda.
were killed not by drowning, but by being bashed against the rocks.
Oh, fun. So they were crushed to death
Yeah.
by waves
debris
and debris
and waves and yeah.
gold and oh, lovely.
Speaking of gold, some of them did die by drowning, trying to swim with a bunch of gold strapped to their bodies.
That's stupid, but also understandable.
But also, like,
yeah, like if you're like, I'm gonna
because
die.
you're on shore, right?
Yeah.
Like your boat has been smashed into the rocks on the shore. And I'm sure it's a very like high rocky shore. I might see if I can find a nice little rock to like hang out. Like maybe if I can swim over here, you know, I'd have some gold. Fuck it.
Well, and especially if you're watching people die all around you, I feel like that's the point where you're like, well, I'm probably gonna die too, but I might as well if
but
I
might
live
as well
be
try.
rich.
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
So
Excuse me.
all of these survivors, of which there were about 30, were men, but there were a bunch of women and children on that boat. So
Sure.
they clearly did not deal with the women and children first.
No.
Although it didn't, I don't think there was any like life preservation devices.
I was gonna say, honestly, in that situation, just be happy that anybody lived.
Yeah.
It'd be great, sure,
Yeah,
if it was
there's-
a little more diverse, but fuck.
There's a pretty big memorial to the thing. Anyways, so over 200 ships were wrecked by this storm. Like just shipwrecked.
Jesus.
You know? But the storm came to be called the Royal Charter Storm because that was the biggest ship and the most horrific loss,
Sure.
basically, of life and money.
Yeah.
So they considered this storm to be the most severe storm of the 19th century in the Irish Sea. Okay, why am I telling you this? This storm and subsequent losses inspired Fitzroy to try to develop charts with the data he had access to in order to allow predictions to be made in regards to weather at sea.
Oh, like forecasting.
He actually coined the term weather forecast. That's what he called it.
Very
Yep.
nice.
And he used the new telegraph system to get daily reports of the weather at specific set times from the 15 land stations he had set up, like kind of around,
like
you
around
know.
the bay or around the
So
sea area.
Yeah, so like he was in like the UK, and so we had some here and like some here, and like, you know, across the pond a little ways over here, and he used the telegraph, and there was like one of the times was 9 a.m. every day. Send me what the weather is. Right. So he developed a storm warning service using this data that began in February of 1861. During this time, he began, you know, toying with forecasting and developing the science that is meteorology, which he didn't have government permission to do.
Well, fuck that.
He did have the permission to try to, like, you know, issue storm warnings and stuff, but not to try to predict them.
Okay. So if something bad was happening,
if
he
it was
could-
there.
Yeah.
Like-
if 9 a.m. one of his stations reports it's crazy as fuck stormy, he could then say nobody try to sail here because
Don't
it's
go
crazy
there,
as
it's
fuck
stormy. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
But he couldn't say that storm's going to come here.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
And didn't know that that would be the case. It was because it was like, okay, 9 a.m. there, and then whatever time the next set. Well, now it's storming here, then it's storming there at the next set of time, is when he kind of started to see
Like you could
weather
track it.
patterns.
Yeah.
So he published the first weather forecast, which was about 24 to 48 hours, and very general. On July 30th.
So much like current weather forecasting for our local news stations.
It was July 31st, 1861, and it was predicting August 1st and August 2nd, which was north, moderate westerly wind, fine. West, moderate southwesterly, fine. South, fresh westerly, fine. Basically, conditions would be fine overall. And his forecast proved to be correct. So people were like,
That's kind of neat.
yeah. So he continued to do that. He began to start adding detail which of course came with a higher margin of errors.
Of course.
And that came with a lot of criticism from people who looked at that when deciding to set sail or not. You know, because he might say, oh, it's going to be stormy. And then fishermen and other people might be like, well, let's not go out today. And then the storm would never come and they'd lose all that money. Or the opposite. They'd be like, no, today's going to be nice. And then they go out and it storms and the shit's fucked. So people really, really, really came down hard on him when he was wrong.
Mm-hmm. So much like modern day
much
meteorologists.
like modern day, yes. He struggled with all of the criticism, and it really took a toll on him. His final entry for weather forecasting was March 20th, 1865. And on April 30th, 1865, he got up at some point. I don't know, he kissed his daughter and ended up going to slit his throat with a razor.
Oh, fun.
Yep, so he
Great.
couldn't take it. Bummer.
Yeah.
Yeah. He had spent his entire fortune because, like, he wasn't poor. I mean, he, like, worked his way up in the Navy. He hung out with Darwin. Like,
But he wasn't like a king or a nobleman or what. He was
well
well
some
off
of his
and
family had, like,
land and
noble
money,
ties and
yeah.
stuff. But he had spent his entire fortune on, like, public expenditure, right? So he was, like, creating some of this equipment and loaning it out and whatever. So one of his buddies stepped up because he was like, well, I don't want your wife and your daughter to, like, be destitute, you know, because of this. So they set up a fund to get them, you know, a little bit of money to live on. And the government reimbursed like half of what he had spent on all this stuff.
Oh, that's great.
And Darwin also contributed to this cause, so that they were like, cool, they could afford to live and stuff.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of Fitzroy memorial type things. There's an inn in Rhode Island. There's Mount Fitzroy in South America. Fitzroy River in Australia. A World War II ship, the HMS Fitzroy. Also, believe it or not, a fucking weather ship named after him.
Fuck yeah. Fuck yeah, it is.
There were stamps, plaques, museum notes, and setups and whatever. All that stuff. But it's one of the things, right, is you can see storms coming.
Yeah.
Right? We've gotten some of that figured out. We can use satellites to see from space. We see hurricanes forming. We know how that works. We get that. We can kind of trace their trajectory.
Yeah.
One of the things we don't know is, like, on any given year, and we have long suspected that climate change will cause intensifying hurricanes. Just naturally makes sense. The Gulf is warmer, the water's warmer. Warm water is a big contributing thing to hurricanes.
Yeah, heat, yeah.
But we don't know if one year is going to be worse than the others.
Sure.
Or could we, perhaps, thanks to a little birdie? Okay. This is my fucking favorite. All right, so
I could tell you just got really excited.
I did. Okay.
No, I'm here for it. I want to hear. What did the birdie tell you?
So the little bird is called a veery. They're a small thrush species of bird. They measure about 6.5 inches and under 2 ounces typically.
Small bird. Small. Can they carry a coconut?
No, but they can carry a little paperclip, like about the weight of a paperclip GPS tracking unit.
Okay. It'd be better if they could carry a coconut on a line. But
Well, it
just saying.
would, but they're 2 ounces. They're small, tiny little birds.
How does a 2-ounce bird carry a coconut?
They
Well,
don't.
it carries on a line. It's Monty Python. Come on, April. It's Monty Python.
Oh.
Yeah.
I've seen part of that
Oh,
once. I know. I
April.
had a migraine that night. I watched like half of it and I was like, I need to go to bed. And then I never finished it.
April.
I'm sorry.
That one was like, sometimes I'm like, okay, yeah, it makes sense. But Monty Python, seriously?
I get it.
It's a classic.
Okay. I'm sorry.
I'm still going to keep shaming you.
That's
Continue.
fine. That's
the
fine.
more you talk to me about this 2-ounce bird, I'm still going to make coconut references.
Okay, so they breed in northern US and southern Canada.
Okay.
And they are tracked like in Delaware by this Professor Christopher Heckscher. And they noticed, well, these birds go away. Where do they go? Right? They migrate to, in the winter, these tiny little fucking birds. They migrate to South America, like Brazil, from like Delaware and southern Canada. Like that's like a 4,000-mile trek.
Yeah.
For these little fucking birds. Okay. So anyways.
But they can carry a lot of coconuts.
So the professor at Delaware State University that I mentioned studied their nesting habits for years, and their nesting habits had been recorded since 1998. And researchers were like, the fuck? You know, because they figured out where they went. They're like, okay, the timing of the end of their nesting season varies a lot some years, by weeks. And they couldn't figure out why, because when they cut their nesting season short, that meant less babies, right?
Yeah.
And so, for the most part, species are designed to reproduce, to continue the species.
Yeah, of course.
That's just how it is.
Yeah.
Darwin, y'all. Anyways. But these birds sometimes cut it weeks short, therefore eliminating some of what could have been born. They were like, why? Why? Nothing locally made sense, you know? Like, logically, like, they were like, well, there's nothing here, no factors. But Hershker looked at, you know, where they went and how they got there to see if it might be related to something on the way. And so if you're familiar with geography, to get from Delaware to fucking Brazil and the Amazon, as the bird flies, you go through the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico.
Yeah.
One of the things that might get in their way.
Oh, like a hurricane?
Hurricanes. What? Yeah.
No.
So they kind of looked into it and they're like, but I mean, could that be like why they change it? Because like, how would they know, right? And they found a lot of correlation between the years when the birds left early. The hurricane season was more intense and had like typically not necessarily more storms, but more intense, like category 3 and above storms. So again, how they know remains a mystery, as it was put together fairly recently. I think it was like 2018 was the first time that they tested the theory. And I think it was that year that NOAA was like, it'll be an average hurricane season, but the birds left early. And then it was like, they thought their theory was wrong because it got to be like October and there hadn't really been a ton of storms. But I think, I want to say like 20% of major hurricanes occur in October. More in September, of course, but September and October are the big ones. But I think like 20% of the major hurricanes take place in October. And October of that year, the Veeries proved right because there was a lot of fucking like big hurricanes. Yeah. Anyways. Sorry, I went way off and I didn't write any of that down. That's just stuff that was in my head.
Because she likes weather.
They do like weather. So yeah, it remains a mystery as to how they know, which I want to know. I want to know how they know. Like, what senses it in the air and how can we use that to figure that shit out? They don't know. These tiny little fucking bird brains and these tiny little fucking birds somehow months in advance. No, because they leave... You know,
well, because they have to leave to be able to get past
and, you know,
it.
These sons of bitches can fly like 160 miles a day. Like
they'd have to make it like the 4,000-mile trek or whatever.
But it is a very long trek, so they have to, you know, if like they're gonna be hitting the fucking Gulf because they don't leave till after hurricane season, anyways. But I think they leave in like the fall on average years, and late summer on high intensity years. Anyways, yeah, so they don't know how they know, but it seems like they fucking know.
Yeah.
The science is like new, and it's not really science because
it's just a theory.
It's just a theory that has
a
lot
hypothesis
of correlation that seems to really check out.
It's a hypothesis that has been gently tested and so far has not been proven wrong.
And they have data from like when they left back, 20 years, and it pretty matches up to when there were intense hurricanes. So I get that maybe this subject is a little less strange than some of them or whatever, but I'd like to point out a lot of people died in the boat wreck and everything. And And also, I mean, some people killed themselves. Like, slit your throat. Like, that's pretty serious.
You don't have to justify your happiness
don't.
with weather, okay?
But I do want to say that weather is certainly capable of being unusual, and we have seen a lot of evidence of that in recent years, and will continue to do so. And maybe these little fucking birds that fascinated me, because they're strange as hell with their potential use for the whole hurricane season prediction, you know, I don't know. It's a little strange. It's a little unusual. We'll see what happens.
Mm-hmm.
I would also, for anybody out there who's wondering the question, did they leave early this year?
Did they?
They did.
Oh, no.
They did. Both the Veery prediction and NOAA, which is like the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, say that we are in for an active season this fall. Hopefully not. And if I do make it to the Virgin Islands, hopefully not while I'm there. And yes, I have been checking. And for a second, I was like, Sam, what are you going to do? And then Sam fucked off. So that was cool. And right now, I'm like, okay, it's looking pretty.
Well, and you're only going to be there for a couple of days. Hurricanes usually take at least a couple of days to form and move.
Yeah. But there have been some that have been surprising them lately with like how fast they intensify. Like I think Ida was one of them that did that. But anyways.
Again, more random weather knowledge that April has in her brain.
And my stupid little brain. Yeah, so that's basically my story. I'm curious because there haven't been, you know, like there've been a lot of storms. Like they've burned through a lot of the names.
Yeah.
Right, that they had lined up for this year. And it is barely October.
Yeah.
Hurricane season ends November 30th officially, but of course there could be hurricanes into the first couple weeks of December. It's just like they don't count as part of hurricane season.
Exactly. They're
and
just
as I mentioned,
storms.
20% of the major storms,
October.
I think, if my memory is correct.
You're not an expert. You're just telling us shit.
But I do have a little bit of a freak brain.
You do. You have a little bit of a little bird brain.
Yeah. A little. What?
I don't mean like a little. I mean I just mean that it's strange and unusual.
Insult, but
no, like
not
your
in the
little
case
birds.
of the Veeries, I don't think.
I was like your little
like
birds. Your brain is strange and unusual that way. I meant like your little birds.
So
sorry, I wasn't saying that your brain was
I have a
small
bird
and
brain.
bird brainy.
Like a dodo. Just
Yeah.
go ahead and say it. I'm a dodo.
No, you're not. You're gorgeous and smart and wonderful. You're not a dodo. I meant that you're like your birds.
I know.
Strange and unusual.
Yeah. So we'll see what it brings. I hope, like, part of me really hopes they're wrong because, like, you know, hurricanes are very devastating and there's still a lot of hurricanes from the past, looking at you, Maria, that the people haven't recovered from.
Yeah.
And, like, they still have tarps on their roofs in a lot of places in Puerto Rico. And you know, can't really handle a big hurricane. So I hope for the sake of the people that the Veeries are wrong and that NOAA is wrong. But for the sake of science, I really kind of hope they're right. And maybe we can start utilizing this a little bit and figure out how they know what they know. And if like these little tiny birds know, what other things do other creatures know that we don't know they know?
Oh, yeah. No, I agree. It's like the bees.
It's like that stupid episode of Friends where they're like, but they don't know we know they know we know, right?
Right? Well, it's like the bees.
Yeah, like
there's a billion different animals on this planet that act really strange when shit goes down. And you're like, why?
And then you figure it out and you're like, son of a bitch.
Yeah. And you're like, how the fuck did you know that?
Yeah, so, I don't know. I just, like now, like I never really gave many fucks about birds. But now
now she gives a lot of fucks about birds.
On Twitter, I follow a fucking bird guy because I'm like, what? I mean, what else? What else do?
What other weird
birds
shit
know? And
birds
like,
do?
you know, there's a lot of creatures who migrate.
Mm-hmm. Well, and a lot of birds are some of our oldest species, being dinosaurs.
Yeah, being dinosaurs and shit.
Yeah. So I mean,
and also like pollinators and stuff, you know, birds
bees.
Birds and bees. I mean,
the birds and the bees.
More important than we knew.
Oh my god.
And also more important to our survival.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why they call it the birds and the bees. I don't think that is, but that's a lot of, you know, potential foresight. Sorry.
Foreshadowing?
Something, I don't know.
To a very common saying.
Yeah, but anyways, that's a little story that I wanted to tell. And it's so funny because like I didn't know you were doing this base one. And I was like, I've done a lot of murder and stuff lately. I feel like maybe like I've had like some sort of connection to like Robert Fitzroy because I was like, this guy's kind of cool, right? And then I was like, but I just don't know how I want to do that and like when I should do that and whatever. And I was like, you know what? Maybe this next episode I'll do that. And then I was like looking at the calendar before I started writing and I was like, oh, actually that would be because I thought about looking up like, some shit, maybe even potentially like hurricane damage or hurricane stories or something where I'm going.
Yeah.
But then I was like, oh, this will be perfect. It's going to work out so well.
A nice little refreshing break from murder. And little did you know.
It's 2 weeks in a row.
That's fine. Fuck them all.
No.
I'm enjoying.
Murder. But
I'm enjoying. We will do back to back to back to back to back to back murder. And y'all get to deal with 2 weeks of not murder. And honestly, like, you sick fucks, you should learn about some other stuff, okay? Murder is fascinating, but there's so much. It's like the South Park episode where it's like, scandalous murder porn. And then, I know you haven't watched South Park. If Maya was here, she would know.
Really.
But there's a whole episode of South Park about it where it's like all of the adults, the kids have to get their TVs, adult, like, password blocked. Like, like...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because they're watching murder porn, and it's, like, causing them to, like, be, like, violent towards their spouses.
I feel like, did you guys talk about that in some episode, maybe?
I'm sure.
Okay.
We talk a lot about South Park.
And shows.
Yeah.
In general. Speaking of shows, I get to meet Cass.
Which is, I know.
I'm so excited. If any of you watch Supernatural out there, Misha Collins wrote a poetry book. And in addition to being a weather nerd, I am a little something of a book nerd.
That's where we double dip. I'm a very much so a book nerd as well.
Yeah.
Although she reads you read different books than I read, typically.
I mix it up. I don't have like a specific genre or anything. Like right now I'm reading the Mindhunter book that the Netflix series that I have not seen was based on, and that one's interesting as fuck. And this is why I think like probably, I mean, maybe not the next one, maybe not even the one after that. I have a little list now.
Me too. Thank you, Candace.
But there's definitely going to be some stuff that kind of comes out of that book. But I mean, I've gotten Calvin to start reading one of my favorite books, which is like a young adult like fantasy work. It's just the most beautifully written book I've ever fucking read. It's also the only book that I've read 3 times in the last 5 years.
Okay.
Like, I mean, it's probably one of the only books I've ever read 3 times, but 3 times in the last 5 years.
And what book series is this?
Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor.
Yes, and I was going to say if it's Strange the Dreamer, because I remember you told me I need to read that one, and I still have not.
So good. Calvin's currently reading it, so. And then, like, Jason was like, stop talking about it in the chat. I'm going to read it. And I was like, well, then read it now. Like, get in on it.
Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. Speaking of really great books that people are finally fucking reading, I got Alan to finally read the Aporson, well, it's the Old Kingdom series, but I call it the Aporson series, from Garth Nix. Boy, did he finally say, like, he flat out told me, he's like, that's one of the best series ever. And I'm like, I know, I fucking told you this. I told you this for years, and it took you years to finally understand that Garth Nix is, like, the best fucking writer out there. So.
But, I mean, I'd be curious to see how he matches up with Laini Taylor, who
it's really
has a way of just, like, the imagery presented in the words. It's fucking fascinating. Anyways, Misha Collins wrote a book.
Yeah, that's where we came with. We could talk about books. Like I said,
you're right, yeah.
Maya and I can talk about
shows
TV and shows and stuff, but like April and I, we geek out about books.
Yeah. So they're doing a signing, and Drunk Me, fucking score, Drunk Me.
Right.
Bought a ticket, and then like the next day I was like, oh, I bet actually I should see if somebody wants to come with me to that. And then it was like sold out. This was a limited ticket event. And then it's like the ticket buys me a copy of the book. I get to see him in person and talk, and he'll probably read some stuff out of the book. I don't fucking know. And then I get access to the signing line.
Yeah, you do.
So I'm really stoked about that.
Take a selfie. If you don't get to take a picture, take a selfie.
Yeah, so the last time I went, which was a hot minute ago, I went with somebody who took my picture as I was talking to, it was Chuck Klosterman. But as I was talking to him, so like my friend behind me took my picture as I was talking to him, and then Ransom Riggs is another one. So I'm really excited to add that one to my signed bookshelf right next to the other cast member of Supernatural that I have a book of from signed by, and that's Felicia Day. But that shirt that I wear on occasion that like has Cass and Dean on it. You're fucking high if you don't think I'm wearing that.
Oh no, and I fully expect if you don't get a picture with Misha Collins, you should at least get a picture of you with the book in your shirt.
In my shirt.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
No.
because we need to see all of this.
No, I'm gonna do my
Look at
best.
this weird. It's totally the sound effects episode.
Yeah,
Your throat just made a weird one.
I was like, that one I had no control over.
No.
Anyways, sorry. Super tangent, but it's the end of the episode, so if like you're still listening, you're here by your choice, like not because you're like, is there more to the story?
No, story's done.
No.
Y'all know this. You're here because you want to listen to us
Who the fuck was
rant.
that guy that was like Paul Harvey? And now the rest of the story.
Oh, fuck that shit. No. We give you the whole thing right in the middle. You know, if you don't want to listen to banter, you skip like 10 to 12 minutes in.
The skip button.
Yeah, 10 to 12 minutes in. Listen to the rest of the goddamn podcast.
And then you can don't care.
Yeah, exactly.
We're
consistent
next in your queue.
people.
Speaking of whatever's next in your queue, if you have suggestions of like some cool stuff you've heard or whatever, that maybe you like, hey, I feel like I know you guys well enough that one of you would like this thing, let us know. Or if you're like, hey,
look, listen,
maybe you should talk about this thing, you could also let us know.
Mm-hmm.
Like that.
Which I will say that of all of the people that have given suggestions, Candace is officially so far out in front of y'all. Dude, she in the last,
but it's
like,
not a competition, though. You know,
it's not a competition, but like you're gonna run
it.
She's killing it, and if you're gonna be like, I know this crazy story, but like, yeah, Candace already told me about it. You can't get mad at this point. So chime in, people. Chime in.
Yeah. Do that, please. And you could do that a few ways, I suppose, probably, perhaps, if you were like, how do I do that? And this is like your first time here, and you're like, I need to know. Which also, if it's your first time here, normally there's a lot more blood and guts, guys. So, you know, maybe go back and listen to a couple episodes.
No,
before
enjoy
you
the weather.
Some shit. No, you can enjoy the weather.
Stop
I'm
talking
just
bad about
saying, if
yourself.
this is your first episode, you should know it's not always about weather or space.
It's not. It's usually about
some
death and stuff. Yeah.
And gore and spoopy stuff.
Yeah, we usually do hit those topics, but it is the strange and unusual, and it's also whatever the fuck we want to talk about.
Yeah. So anyways, to get those suggestions to us new listeners or old ones who don't remember or
people who are tired of us yelling at you,
don't want to hit skip,
Yep.
You can go to our Facebook page, which is Don't Fall Asleep. You can go to our Instagram page, which is Don't Fall Asleep Podcast, or you can email us at don'tfallasleeppodcast@gmail.com.
accurate. All of the above.
Yep.
You know, I think you and I are the only two people that have ever done that bit. I don't think Maya's done it.
Put her on the spot.
Oh, I might. Next week, I'm coming for you. Look at her. She listens to the episodes.
I was like, yeah, she's gonna have a heads up.
Oh, she'll forget. Do you know how busy she is?
That
That is not something
edit out. Gone.
No. Because then, if she still fucks it up, then it is 100%.
Then it's really on her.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
Not that we're hoping you trip, honey, but also at the same
But
time.
also kind of. And I think that's fair, and we all know it.
Yeah, because I've tripped.
Yeah.
You need to be initiated, goddammit.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anyways, that's my story about,
Death. Just kidding. Weather.
Weather.
Or not
And
weather.
the development of forecasting. I wanted to be a climatologist for so long, which is different than like a meteorologist. I thought it would be so neat. But then I was like, I'd get so sad so fast. And also there's a lot of math involved.
I was going to say, the math is the thing that would kill me.
And I was like, I need a break from math. When I got out of high school, like hard math, I didn't want to go harder on the math.
It's not even math. It's school in general. School
I could
sucks.
be a student forever, but I was like, I can't do math right now. But now I'm like,
I'm just not.
could I do math? No,
I
I'd be
just
too
can't do
sad. I'd be
math.
too sad because I'd see what's coming, sort of. I mean, I'd be those people who are like, guys, like 2030. And like we gotta do this by then. Otherwise, it's like we're beyond the point of no return. We got fuck. And I would probably pull a Fitzroy. I'd be like, I'm not fucking doing this anymore. I can't do.
Well, I don't like that option. So yeah, you're not allowed to do any math anymore.
Oh, it's not math. I can do math. I just can't do climatology.
Well, it's a slippery slope here. Okay,
I'm always
slippery slope.
Anyways, I'm not gonna do that.
Do you have anything else for this?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm good.
Is that it?
Yeah, that's it. You know, I guess.
Stay strange, friends.
No.
Oh, because I never get to do
You
it.
don't get because there's like my catchprise, you know. And I was like, oh,
Yeah,
how
but
do
I
sign
never
off? It was
get
like
to
my
do
sign
it.
off. I had like a sign off.
Well, you can say it again.
No.
I never get to do it. I jumped the gun, and I'm
that's
sorry.
fine. No, you don't have to apologize. It's fair. I'm just, I'll think of something clever for next time.
Stay classy, San Diego.
No. I'm thinking maybe I'll pepper in like, okay, like off the top of my head, right?
Okay.
You remember that song, like Soldier Boy?
Yeah.
Crank that. Maybe like, now I'm a you, stay unusual. Eh?
Only if I get the dance moves with it.
Bye.
Bye.